Boom, we're on. Despite some internet troubles, we've got Kyle Yates here, the OG. Casey Patterson, of course, filling in his second episode here. But what's going on, Kyle?
Oh, it's chilling. Nice to be home for a week in between tournaments. Missing out this weekend on the PPA Austin fun, but I'll be out in Arizona next week for the Legacy.
Yeah,
So
man, I gotta go over there potentially later today. Really don't want to, but I think that's gonna have to happen. So you're out there in Fort Myers, Florida, yeah?
yes, sir. Not far from Naples, pickleball capital,
Yeah,
apparently.
right. Well, that's what they say, but I think Phoenix, Austin, and SoCal are giving it a run for its money, right, Casey?
I mean, dude, that Bellbank Park place, I was in Arizona last 2 weekends ago because my kid had a baseball tournament. And I'm like, boys, let's just drive by it. It's massive. I'm like, this is like a Disneyland. What's happening? It's crazy. But that's like, I mean, what, Naples, that's like every place, right? Isn't there like huge monster facilities like that too? Like 30, 40, 50 courts or something?
It's just everywhere. So obviously they got the big facility down there in Naples with like 60 something courts, but every community in Southwest Florida has their own courts, their own pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Bellbank Park out there in Phoenix, I can't wait to play there next week. It's gonna be
Dude,
fun.
it's so cool.
Is
It's gonna be
that's the
great.
APP next week?
Next week is an APP, yeah.
And it's the Legacy Open, right?
hmm
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty sick venue. They're gonna have like multiple tournaments on both tours there. So there's gonna be a lot of action there. And we might be doing something there too. Stay tuned for that. But Kyle, okay, so here's basically what I want to talk to you about. Well, there's a lot of different things. But I wanted to just start off by saying, like, okay, you are like an OG in pickleball, right? I mean, you've been around for 10 years at the pro level.
Yeah, I think I'm going on 8, really, officially.
Okay, got it. But we round up and we just say, yeah, 10,
Yeah,
10 years.
yeah.
You've been around for a decade, and you've been at the top for almost all of those years. So what's it been like to just like see pickleball go through this crazy surge and get to the point that it is now, knowing that it's still got a long way to go, but it's definitely growing quickly.
Well, for sure. Well, the main thing is I've given up trying to predict what I think it'll look like in 2 years because it's
Okay,
changed so
fair.
much.
That's
So
fair.
when I first started playing back 2011, 12, I mean it was so small. No one my age played, so I didn't even tell my
Right.
friends I'd play. I mean, I'd go play with
Yeah.
the 50, 60-year-olds down at the local rec center.
Yeah.
Or I'd go out to the local tennis courts and I'd bring bring a bungee cord and chalk, and I'd have to like lower the tennis net and then chalk lines every time. And I actually went out one time with a Sharpie and like made little marks in the corners to
Dude.
make it easy for me to
Dude.
line the court. And apparently that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
Some man's like has like felony charges in Denver right now because he did that.
I was just going to
So
say that. Yeah.
luckily I didn't get caught. But now that actually that facility that I did that at now is 12 beautiful pickleball courts. But it's crazy. It just keeps growing. So I mean, I've just seen just how many more courts, how many more people have been playing, and how much is growing at the rec level.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on the pro level. I mean, when I first started playing, Enrique Ruiz was the best player in the world, and many of your viewers might not even know who that is, which
I
is
don't know
kind of
who that
sad.
is.
Which is sad to me.
Yeah.
He's a legend. So too, he plays senior pro some now.
Got
But
it.
yeah, you got those. You call me OG, but I'm thinking of the Tim Nelson, the Billy Jacobson, Chris Miller, Dan Gabinik. You guys don't even know who some of those people are. But back then, they were the best players in the world, and so
Yeah.
it's wild to see every year the new people. And I've seen some people come in, win a bunch of tournaments, and then fade out, and now we don't even see them anymore. And
Yeah.
so just the process is just blows my mind.
It's
Yeah.
crazy because when I first watched, I mean, dude, like I think I started playing a little over a year ago, and I was like, dude, YouTube hungry. Like, how do I find content of guys like the best guys, dude? And everything that was available was of you playing in some final with a different partner, like, or you with Ben at the U.S. Open, or you with the Badger. What's his name? The guy's so good, old school. He plays pro now with with
Dave Weinbach?
Dane at Santa Barbara. Yes, Weinbach, dude.
Weinbach.
I mean, and watching the rallies you guys had, I'm like, bro, Kyle's been like dominating forever. And now that I see this pro stuff has just been popping up everywhere, I felt like you're kind of like, well, bro, I've been writing this out and dominating for so long that I was kind of like, all right, what do I do now? Because there's really nothing left. And then this pro series are like exploding, and you're like, oh, I guess people are still kind of playing and there's something to do. Because I felt that's how it happened with us too. It was like 2010, there really wasn't any tour to play on. And so everyone kind of just like left. And there was a few of us that stayed around. And because we stuck around, we capitalized on the tour like exploding. And it was like, oh my gosh, I was one of the ones that hit the timing perfect. But then the other guys that were way better than me that were like, oh yeah, dude, sorry, I sell medical appliances or gear for hospitals or whatever like that. Like they're off doing something else. And you're like, dude, you are so good. You know what I mean? It was like, it's crazy. So to see
That's
like
so
when
accurate.
I first watched, it was all you, dude. I was like, dude, Kyle, that's why I'm in Santa Barbara. I'm like, Kyle's gonna be there. I'm like, who's Ben? Whatever. Kyle's gonna be there? Because I'd watched all these videos of you just crushing, cramping, and like winning rallies, hitting lobs like 40 feet in the air. I'm like, this dude's a god. It's insane.
Oh man, that's so accurate though, because I remember, if you guys probably don't know, the Pro Pickleball Federation was the pro tour back in 2017, I think 2017, 2018, and they had a tour for like maybe 10 months and a bunch of pro tournaments, and then they just stopped running tournaments. They just disappeared, and then and then you got the PPA and the APP started building up, and then with COVID, everything stopped for like a year.
Right.
And so during that time, it kind of made me nervous. I said, I got a feel or a sense of what my life would be like without pickleball. And so it kind of made me nervous. So it's like, man, I keep training and playing all these tournaments, but what if tournaments don't come back? Or what if, I can't play anymore for whatever reason? So I started getting into a lot of other things and stopped training as much. And then we come back and the pro tour is just in full swing, and everybody's been training for 2 years and everyone got so much better. So it's fun to still be able to compete with them, but to keep up, it's a full-time job, and you got to be committed. That's for sure.
Yeah. The game's at the point where you can't part-time pickleball at nights after work or a couple hours in the morning. You got to be like double days, skill specific, watching film, breaking down your own stuff, like mental coach, you get your physical coach, your nutrition. You're adding all those elements for people that are doing it full time, because this is just getting harder and harder to win, right? I mean,
of course,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. I love it. I love it though. It's kind
so
of what
good.
I always hoped it would be. I think I got the timing a little bit off, but I'm still hanging around. I'm just been busy, but it's so fun to see where the sport's gone and where it was when I started. I'm like, man, it's just crazy. I actually had an interview at the last tournament, and I remember I had like 3 or 4 matches, and every match I played, I'm playing against people who are like younger than me. And I was just like, when has this ever happened when I'm playing against people younger than me? Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 matches in a row. I'm playing all people younger than me, and it just blew my mind. It's like when I was that age, there was no pickleball. I mean, I'd have to drive 4 hours up to the villages to go play with other 5.0 players. Yeah. Now it's like there's pro players everywhere, and there's courts everywhere. It's so accessible now. It's great.
Yeah. The other thing is I can't tell you the amount of conversations I have with people who are like, I think I'm going to make a run at pro. I'm like, yeah, so is everybody else. And there are so many people who are out there right now, like, putting in the hours on the court, because there still is that window of opportunity right now, but it's definitely closing, especially as like all this new tennis talent just floods into the sport, more so on the singles side, which is another interesting topic. Is like, we see a lot of shuffling at the top in singles. There's like this Stocksford guy, Paris Todd and Anna Bright on the women's side, Alex Newman, Pablo Tellez, this Kusmiter kid. But in doubles, it's like, okay, you still know everybody at the top in doubles. It's those names we've been hearing for, the better part of 2 years now.
I think it's fair. I think that's a credit to some of those guys who still do end up winning the singles. Like credit to Ben and Tyson and I mean even JW for doing so well in singles and in doubles. Because I just keep thinking there's gonna be some really good tennis players who just play tons of singles and come out and win the singles that maybe doesn't really transition to doubles. But when you have players who do well at both, I've just always been impressed by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember what I was going to say, but yeah. Oh, so specialization. That's something that Tyson, that one guy who used to be a host on this podcast who's missing in action. We would always talk about that. We would always talk about like the increase in specialization of like you're going to have a Lucy Kovalova who's constantly in the top 3 women's doubles, but doesn't even step on the singles court and vice versa. Is that something you kind of continue to see happen more moving forward?
I just think you're going to see a lot of doubles players not playing singles because, again, like
Yeah.
I said, it's like anybody can just grab a paddle, play a bunch of singles, get pretty good at it, especially if you got a tennis background. But the doubles, if you're competing for doubles titles, which is already physically demanding enough, but to play singles on top of it, it's tough. That's why like winning like a triple crown, like what Anna Lee and Ben and even JW just did, is so impressive to me because it's not. They're playing all day, several days in a row, 3 different events. It blows my mind that you could be so good at all 3 different events because each event is so unique in itself, but it's so physically demanding. So Lucy, she knows she's gonna be competing for doubles and mixed doubles titles, but she doesn't want to, kill herself to play singles. No worries. There's so many other girls who will jump in and play singles instead. But
Right.
to be able to do all 3, I mean, Anna Lee's young, she could still do it. JW's young, he can still do it. But some of those guys, I mean, I'm amazed at how Tyson's able to do it and recover. Ben, I mean, how many tournaments does Ben play? I mean, the guy plays all day, every single tournament. So you got to feel for him after a while. So you can't give him a hard time for missing a singles tournament occasionally.
Yeah. But then you also think like a lot of these guys then just go to their day jobs, which is clinics. It's lessons. It's all day on the court. They run businesses on the side where Ben in particular is like traveling to, I don't know, Costa Rica. It's like pickleball 24/7. So to then go and perform well in doubles and singles at every event is just like, I mean, it's got to be a grind and it's got to wear you out.
Yeah. It's a grind. But the sneaky benefit is time on ball, right? Like even as you're feeding and you're teaching, you're like, dude, I'm getting about 1,000 more reps a day that I wouldn't have gotten because I'm training. It's crazy.
Yeah, I found my secret. The last couple of tournaments I've done really well on. I actually just went on vacation right before, so it was a mental refresh. So I feel like I get plenty of practice, but it's the mental recovery that does it for me. So before Punta Gorda, before playing with Deckel a few weeks ago, I actually went to the Bahamas for a week, did some surfing, some relaxation, and like one day of practice, then played great. And then before the next tournament, I practiced all week, played in the tournament, played terrible. So, you explain to me how that works, but I think for me, I just need a refresh and get away from pickleball for a few days. And then when I come back, I'm more focused and motivated to play. But those guys who play every single weekend, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
What was that chemistry with Deckel? How did that feel? Have you played with him before, or is that kind of like the first big event you guys have played together?
It's been a while. I'm back. I have played with him before, but it's been a couple of years. But I loved it. I didn't have to do too much. I mean, as long as they hit a dink anywhere on his half of the court, he would just earn it. It made my job pretty easy. I didn't feel like I had to do too much. I just kind of sat on my side, just kind of grinded, which I feel like is what I'm best at, and let him just kind of jump around and have fun.
I say you have so many reps in your belt with how long you've already been playing to be able to that's kind of how I feel. I can go bounce for 2 weeks, come back, and a day, maybe 2 of just some light reps. I'm like, dude, I'm right. Yeah. I feel great. I actually am better because my body doesn't hurt. And I'm like, dude, exactly. I'm dangerous right now because my knees feel good, my back feels good, and I've got reps upon reps, probably more than anyone here. So I don't need to practice for months leading up to it.
Exactly. If I'm moving well, I feel like I'm going to play well. If I'm all sore or stiff, I get lazy and I don't play as well. But it's like riding a bike, hitting the pickleball.
Yeah.
I don't really get rusty in that sense.
Casey, do you play singles?
I do, because sometimes I'm like, I'll play so much doubles that I'm like, I didn't really get a workout. And so I'll go play singles because I feel like I'm moving. I just don't know how to do that sick, slide. I'm always moving with my upper body in front of my hips, like volleyball, where I'm leading with my arms. And so I'm like, do I have to dive or roll out of this? This is kind of sketchy. You know what I mean? And the first time I played, I dove a ton and just smashed up my forearms. And I was like, what am I doing? I need to be like roller derby, elbow pads and knee pads. But dude, singles is so fun. I think it dials in so well. You're like 3/4 passing shots with tons of like top spin, and just it really helps me with my like location. But dude, I wish I had the knee strength over time to play singles. I can do like 2 games and then the knees are just barking. I can barely walk.
That's my issue. My knees are terrible. I just don't do singles. I'm just out on it altogether.
Cardio wise, it's awesome though. It's so good.
Yeah. It's kind of like sneaky more a workout than tennis is, but I'm sure
Pickleball singles. Oh,
yeah.
Pickleball singles is such a better workout.
Yeah.
Oh, it's unreal. Like you said, the cardio. There's nothing like if you're getting some high quality singles matches in. Oh, it's brutal.
Dude, the multi-direction and like your 3, 4, 5 step turn and like
right.
full sprint, stop, go the other way. I'm like, dude, I can't even get that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, I want to go back to just like the growth of the sport generally, and like what you're seeing from the pro side of things. Like, maybe a good question is, what's one of the recent developments that excites you most, that you're seeing that maybe comes from, and it excites you because of like your perspective as a pro, and we as the casual viewer who like to think of ourselves as sneaky pros but are not, would not be exposed to, or just don't notice?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, especially just because I've been thinking about lately, was after watching the MLP. So obviously I played in it, so I didn't get to watch it, but I want to watch the reruns.
Yeah.
And just seeing the quality of the video and the production, because back in the day when I'd go play or we'd record it, it'd be just recording it on someone's phone or a GoPro, and it was just hard to watch. So people didn't really enjoy watching it online.
Mm-hmm.
But now if you're able to get that high quality production where people are actually enjoying watching it, you get a lot of different angles, some close-ups, get better commentary, and gets more people just watching it online. I think it gets more people interested in it. I think it does the pros a lot more justice, because it shows how much more exciting the sport actually is when you get up close, good footage. But just getting more and more people being exposed to it in the right way, because you could share a professional match online, but if it's just a live stream from your phone, you can't really tell how fast the ball's moving. To the casual viewer, it's kind of boring, so it might turn them off. But you can watch some of those highlight clips from the MLP, some like the finals or something. I mean, they make it look exciting, which is what it is. You go watch Pickleball live, it's badass. It's so much fun to watch when you're live, but most videos are on YouTube. It's not there. Yeah, it doesn't translate. But if you can get some high quality footage where you feel like you're actually there, all of a sudden you feel that energy, and I think that's what excites me the most, is just being able to share the sport in the right way, the way it deserves. I back in the day, I'd tell my friends I play pickleball, and they would just kind of laugh, and I said, "You just wait, it's gonna catch on." and now look at it. So I think that excites me the most, is just we keep advancing in that aspect, and it's just becoming a lot more socially acceptable now.
Yeah, dude, commentary is like very underrated in a sense that you need people to help realize how incredible the pros are, because all that does is it feeds my desire to go want to be more like them. And that's where you're seeing the younger kids like you're playing right now, this whole development side of like even my like 10-year-olds, like, dude, these rallies are insane, because they're watching it with me, like, and they're like, Dad, let's go play, you know what I mean? And so that's when you know that they're doing a good job production wise, and the commentary's on point, because you got nicknames, they're showing instant replays, and they're talking about the game and explaining what the rules are at the same time as keeping it kind of a high level for those who are watching to already know what they're doing. And that really changed the game. And for us as well in beach volleyball, it was kind of like, dude, we're out in the sand, jumping in this super deep stuff, running around, doing all we can. And it didn't translate. It was like, it wasn't translating. And then once the technology caught up, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so much closer to what it feels like in real life. Yeah. And that's the beauty of pickleball, is once you get one vault, you watch one sick rally, you're like, I'm hooked. I'm in. That's it. It's rad.
Yeah. Yeah. Putting a better product out there, definitely going to be crucial. And it's improving. And so I think it's exciting to see people like, or organizations like Tennis Channel coming in and trying new things like
Right.
a camera that wraps around, or like a crane cam on top of the kitchen or something like that. And
Which
then,
was so distracting playing
oh,
MLP,
was
and they
it?
got this like zip line right above the course. You're in the middle of a rally, and you hear this, zzzz, and this camera
Yeah,
like
right.
spinning across, like, and like, don't lob, you hit it, it's a replay.
Yeah.
It's right there. Swing
Yeah.
right lob. Oh,
I always think of the NFL, and there's like the zip line cam. It's like, if you're a quarterback, is it not in the back of your mind, like, not to hit the camera, like running around on a zip line behind you?
There's
and
got to be like a
MLP
rule.
was
It's a
like right
replay.
there.
Yeah,
It was
right?
a replay. Well, that was our
Gotta be like a
joke at
replay.
MLP. If you get in trouble, just chuck up lobs and hopefully hit the cord.
Just
Right.
hit it. Oh, reset. Oh yeah, dude, those huge crane ones. We've had those like at the beach where they started to introduce those, and they can get right up behind you. Look at our fit aid. Oh my gosh, right in time.
Come on.
You guys like Fit Aid too? You guys drink Fit Aid too?
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh,
On
what a
occasion.
coincidence.
They might be
I don't have
friends.
one.
They might be friends of ours.
So good. Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, as the tour develops and the production stuff, they had those huge crane, like the monster cameras with a weighted crane for us, right behind us, and they'd start right behind your head, right, and then they'd like kind of zoom into the team out on the court in front of you. And one time I took a step back to get ready to jump serve and just smacked this dude's this monster camera, and I was like, all right, it's cool that we have this, but it's kind of dangerous, right? It's like so many obstacles now that you have to be aware of, which is like controlling all the chaos at this point. Like, how do I still play the highest level without getting distracted by everything that's happening? This is crazy.
It was dangerous for you, but it would have cleared my head by a good foot.
You'd have been fine. You'd be like, whoa, that shot was sick. You went right over Kyle's head.
Yeah, that. So, all right. So we improved the camera angles and the production and all that. But what about getting the crowd more involved? Casey had a good point. He thinks when there's a dink rally, it's like the 20th dink, the fans should just start chanting, or like in unison, just be like boring until they actually like speed it up and get to the action, get to the good stuff.
Oh, come on.
Dude.
I will say, I don't know how they did it, but again, I'm going to keep bringing it back to MLP because I feel like they ran probably the best pickleball event to date, especially for a player, but for a spectator. I don't know how they did it, but the spectators that night of the finals was unlike any atmosphere in pickleball I've ever been to. It was as if they got a whole bunch of just packed house of people who absolutely love pickleball, but had not yet been exposed to that pro level. So they were still like surprised and excited about every little thing.
Yeah.
Because they go to a lot of tournaments, there's a lot of players, but they've seen the pros play so many times that we kind of get numb to it. But it's finding a way to keep people energized, because they were yelling during the points. I mean, so I don't know if you just got to get people drinking a little more for that or what, but the energy. I mean, we're not watching someone sink a putt. We should be at like a boxing match.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. We have this one tour stop. It was in Klagenfurt, Austria, like the smallest little town in the middle of nowhere on this lake. And in the summer, everyone, of course, in Europe, they're just like outside at all times because it's going to get cold soon. So we have this huge event, massive stadium right on the side of this lake. And they have a chant for every type of play that we execute. If a dude gets this massive block, they had this rapper, they grabbed one of his songs and it was from Germany, it was Mein Block. And it was like, Mein Block, Mein Block. And the whole crowd would be like, and the whole stadium is shaking. And if they got an ace, there was like this chant for ace, and everybody was like, and so I just like kept it after every play. And then as a player, you're like, dude, I got to get more like super plays. Like I got to power up because you want the crowd to get on your side, right? It was so fun. And I think in incorporating like little nuances like that, like your kind of experience at MLP, you just get this like amazing energy that just feeds both sides. The players want to play at a higher level. The crowd's getting them fired up even more. You're just like, this is epic. Like the fact that we had that stuff. I mean, dude, there's like stands in between on the stadium at the very top, and they had fire hoses and people just hosing people down in between points whenever they did like a huge block or an ace. They'd be like, all right, it's time for the cannons. You're like, I mean, it doesn't get that gnarly because beach volleyball, but I mean, at pickleball, there's that, dude, it has that same opportunity to kind of create those little things that make it a better experience.
be a rowdy sport. It sounds like the Waste Management Open in golf, where it just like it takes it to another level. It turns it into a party. Like who doesn't like that? That's at least how you get more fans into the stands at these events. Because one thing that's for sure, it's not a good look when the stands are empty at a final of a major tournament. Like it's just not going to be good for the
Every
market. Shot's
just like basically your shoulders and face. Nothing, like no big wide shots. Everything's just tight. We're like, is anyone there? Why is it only on the player?
Right. And then just the chairs behind them are empty. Not a good look. How'd you like playing team events versus the typical structure?
Well, I had a great team, so I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
We had done something similar like that before with the PPA the year before, where we kind of had a little draft, made teams, and I ended up playing with Adam Stone a little bit. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was cool, and I had never played with AJ before. AJ Collar, I had a blast playing with him. And obviously I'm familiar playing with Anna Lee, but it was nice. It was nice to be able to play with her some more. But I loved it. It was cool. I mean, you get a lot of different matchups. You play against teams you wouldn't normally think you'd be playing. It was cool, and you're constantly depending on other people, other matches. So luckily our women were badass, so they bailed us out on a few occasions. But it was always fun cheering them on, getting pumped for them, which is different. Pickleball, you're usually just kind of cheering for yourself or whatever, but when the women were playing, AJ and I are sitting there yelling every point. Like, so that was cool. It reminded me back of, I didn't play college sports, but back in like high school tennis days where you're just on the sideline, just trash talking the other team.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I hadn't felt that experience in a while. So it was fun.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm just, as a fan, I was there like filming and stuff like that. You could definitely feel that like you guys were in it together, and that just added a different element, like the camaraderie, like the chest bumps. Like that's another thing that just like made it more fun. So it was definitely cool to see that.
Before the event even started, I mean, I know we were kind of one of those underrated teams, but we felt like we had a lot of potential, but we were just told everyone to say, we're just going to compete as hard as we can. We're going to just have a lot of fun. And so it was a no stress situation. We just said, whatever happens. We're just going to play. But I feel like we had probably more energy than any other team. At least that's how we felt. Just every single point, regardless who was playing, the two people on the bench would be cheering, pumping up. And then we have Lee Whitwell, who was this, 15th overall pick, and she's just earning everybody.
Insane.
She's winning singles battles against, the best singles players in the world. I mean, it was we just had so much so much attitude, so much excitement with our team, so much energy. I think that really helped, especially in a situation like that, an event like that, where momentum kind of was everything. So it was so much fun. It's one of those things we'll always look back and remember. It's just such a fun week, and I can't wait for round 2.
Yeah.
That event was the most fun to watch too, I would say, because you could see it, and then they also had players mic'd up. It was rad. I feel like I had so much. I had like more of like a 2 to 3 dimensional like experience of what was happening when I wasn't there. I was like, oh, they're talking trash, and they go sit down and be like, all right, we got to do this. This guy's backhand's terrible. We got to exploit it. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Yeah, it was really fun to watch.
All right, let's pivot here a little bit away from MVP or from MLP, because Kyle, I want to ask you about like gameplay itself and the way it's developed. Like everybody can see, new players coming in, the better product. Like, there's stuff that's obvious, but I'm curious, at the pro level, the highest level of pickleball, has the strategy changed at all? Have you seen more of some type of play, less of another? Like how has that developed?
I would actually say that I don't feel like the strategy has changed much, just the execution has, right? So, I've heard people say, and I just want to clarify, people say like, oh, are people just attacking more, driving the ball more, speeding things up more often, less thinking? I actually don't think so. I remember playing back in the day, and there were a lot of people who back when I first started, let's say 2012. Okay, actually, we'll go 2014, my first nationals. A lot of teams tried to speed up every ball they could.
Yeah.
But if you hit a good enough dink, they couldn't really do that. But most people back then didn't have these great topspin rolls to be able to execute these fantastic attacking shots. So they speed it up from a low ball. They usually get punished, right? now I think people are just so much better offensively, able to speed up balls with more spin, able to get those 1-2 punches a little better, that I think people aren't as afraid to speed up anymore. But you still, I mean, it's still primarily hit that drop shot, move in, keep the ball nice and low as much as you can until someone pops it up, then you're reaching and flick. But I think people just got better at doing it. I remember my first nationals playing against Enrique Ruiz. I mentioned him earlier. He body bagged me like 5 times in the gold medal match when I first played him.
Yeah.
You know, we're dinking, and he'd be able to reach in and take a low ball and kind of flick it up, kind of what
Right.
Ben does. And he would just reach in and flick it and kind of jam you. And so the strategy is still kind of the same. The game play is still similar. People are just hitting shots just at a higher degree of difficulty, or they're just executing better. You know, the ball's moving a little faster, a little more spin, a little more accurate. But the strategy itself is still pretty much the same, luckily.
Yeah, because you guys you're most of the time, and like in my world, same thing. It's like the doubles thing. You basically have a similar strategy, but you're going to compartmentalize it to who you're playing and specific players. Like, okay, hey, let's make sure that we remember, this guy's got this kind of, he's like, of course, less strong in this area, but at the same time, as a team dynamic, remember last time we did this and we kind of were able to capitalize on that. I feel like that's not the same with our game. It went from being super high sets and like everything like similar, like just an easy dink game, to guys were running fake jump sets and shoots and running really fast and all over the place, or hitting on 2, and it kind of caused a ton of chaos. But the strategy wasn't different. We just we just got to serve tougher, and we got to figure out different serves that don't let them do that anymore, right? Or these guys are always speeding up. I got to find ways to put them in position where they're a little bit more uncomfortable to speed up at me. It's cool. There's the nuances of that and causing hesitation, dude. It's all about balance of stress, right? Like, dude, if these guys are speeding up, how do I bounce this off and give it to them where they're nervous or overthinking it, and then I can execute? I mean, that's the natural progression, right? Guys get better at certain things, and then everyone gets better at something else, and then they get better at something else, and they're just fine-tuning and combating those things back to back. It's such a fun game to play.
Kyle, you mentioned kind of like reaching in and initiating the speed up or trying to jam somebody with a dink. It's actually, when we played against each other down in Florida, which I'm sure you're still recovering from, I noticed that like sometimes you'll speed up and you'll kind of reach in and make that flick, and you're not going for the speed up winner on that one. You're not necessarily trying to like win the point on that flick or that speed up. You then position yourself for the next one, and the next one is the put away.
Yeah.
How often are you thinking about that initial flick being the winner or that initial speed up being the winner versus the next one and setting yourself up?
That's a good question. Yeah, a little 1-2 punches. It just depends on the ball. So there are times where I actually feel like I can go ahead and hit the clean winner if the ball's high enough for my opponent's wrap position, whatever it is. Most of the time, it's a fair assumption that the other team is going to get the ball back. It's just a matter of how can I make them as uncomfortable as possible receiving this ball where they can't do that much to hurt me with it. So there are a lot of times where I just kind of flick it at you, knowing you're going to try to counterpunch. But if I'm able to put it in a certain spot where you might counter, let's say I keep it low enough where you still got to hit up on it. At least now I know you're going to hit hard at me, but it's going to be up here somewhere. So I kind of flick it and get ready for the counter. So it's almost like a bait where you're trying to force them to try to attack you, but maybe not quite hit it as well as they would like to, and then you can punish them for that. I mean, because everyone's got such fast hands. I rarely expect it to be a clean winner. I'm just trying to force them to try to give me a ball that I can work with, and it might not be a great one, but I don't need much. You might actually feel like you're going to attack me, but you're just kind of getting played a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, I'll reach in on those and just try to initiate where I just kind of get on your body real fast, force you to try to hit maybe an 80% counter, but that's not going to be enough. And I'm just sitting on the next one to go 100% back at you.
Yeah. You either make them think it's an attackable moment that you're ready for, or you force them to pop it up right and play right into your hand. So it's like those are the two things you're kind of going for. Interesting.
Exactly.
All
right. Do you do specific drills to train that, or that's just kind of like the nuance of just playing over the years and kind of feeling that out more and more?
It's feeling it out. I mean, it's no secret strategy. I know that a lot of guys have been trying that. It's just a matter of is that first ball good enough where you're not just going to get punished by it?
Yeah.
Like I said, Enrique, the first time I played him, I said he body bagged me like 5 times on not hard balls, but he'd reach in and just flick it and he would just jam me. And I just wasn't reading it very well. And then there'd be times where I would try to attack it back and I wouldn't quite hit it clean. And then he would get me back. And so it's just, it takes a lot of anticipation, I think, just seeing it over and over and over again. I know if I can flick this ball on a certain spot on somebody, this is how they normally react.
Yeah.
The ball is likely to come over in this area, and then I'm ready. So it's kind of pop it. I'm kind of ready for it. Or maybe I got the ball down the line, flick it down the line on the backhand, make them try to counter with a backhand, but then I'm just kind of sitting middle ready for it. So, like you said, I initiate, make them think that they can try to attack me back. They don't quite hit it clean, and then I'm ready for that off-pace ball to smash back at them for the real put away. So, it's just trying to keep them uncomfortable, keep testing. I like messing with people, give them a lot of different looks, see how they react. And if they don't handle something very well, you do it again.
That sick inside out, backhand, forehand, flicky. Dude, that thing is I feel like I twisted my ankle just watching it. I was like, oh, what did you just do? It's so good.
Is there a way to drill that though? I mean, like, I feel like I haven't seen people like drilling that specifically.
Well, I think you get plenty of practice doing it. It's just a little simple count, like 1-2 punch. So you just like flick and then you defend the next ball. So if you're out playing against somebody, so what usually happens, right? You're dinking, you get that ball, you take it and you roll it and you flick it up at somebody. Well, their instinct is to slap it back. Usually their instinct is to try to punch it back. They see the ball, they hit the ball. So as long as you get on the body where their hit back is a little bit out of control, where their hit back is maybe a little bit late or a little bit weak, usually if they don't hit 100 miles an hour at me, I'm going to get the next ball back. So as long as you can jam them enough where they have an awkward ball where they can't quite get full power on it, their attack back's not going to do enough to hurt you usually. Now, if they read it and they get in position and they can get a good clean hit, and then you're in trouble. But you just got to keep trying enough. And the way Ben does it, Ben takes it, flicks it right at your chicken wing or your right hip. You kind of get jammed. You try to counter, but you don't hit it clean, and then you're toast to the next one.
Right.
So it takes some discipline. Sometimes you just want to just block that first one if you're uncomfortable. But most people overreact and they just try to hit it back at you, which is usually not the right thing to do.
It's funny because sometimes I feel like hitting it, even almost showing the speed up, but actually hitting it a little bit slower, like almost an off speed, and they'll whiff or miss hit off the frame. I feel like there's like all those little speeds within the full speed up and the dink that like you can play with the 50 shades of roll. You know what I mean? Like you're just manipulating and making them dance. You're just the puppet master. That kind of stuff screws with me. And that's why you're so good at like that stuff where I'm like, all right, here it comes. And then you're like, fluke. And it's this sick top spinny location versus trying to speed it up at me, but it looks like a speed up. And I'm like, what do I do? I don't even know what to do.
It's funny you mentioned Puppet Master, because that's kind of where I learned that shot from. So Tim Nelson, I don't know how familiar you are, Casey, with Tim Nelson, but his nickname was the Puppet Master. But he was so good at disguising the speed of a shot. So he could take a full swing, like fast swing, but he could angle his paddle the last second and just barely graze the ball. So it would come off speed. So he could take a full swing and the ball would actually go like slow motion. So people would swing and whiff at it because it would just be so off pace. Then he would take balls where he looks like he's going to hit soft, and then at the last second accelerate and just drill you in the chest with it. So you're always kind of like uneasy when you sit in the ball because you don't know if it's going to come 80 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour. Like you're not quite sure. So you're always kind of on your heels. So I kind of learned that from him where I'm kind of mixing up the speeds a lot to get people's timing off.
Right. Stress management. It's just push. It's like the old I'm rubber and you're glue. You're just bouncing stress off and trying to give it to them in every way possible where they're just second guessing everything. The puppet master. I love it. It's so good.
You guys, I can just tell by the way this is why you guys are you're Casey. We've never played. You're probably better than me. I can just tell by the way you're talking.
No, I looked at your duper ranking. You're like 4 points ahead of me. It's kind of sad. But I just got to play more. I have a goal, dude. I've got a goal. Yeah.
So the last part of that, then, just to like put a bow on it, is it sounds like a big component of doing that successfully is concealing it. And that's something I'm always thinking about is like, how do I, regardless of if I'm going to speed it up, if I'm going to lob, if I'm going to dink, how do I do that same motion so everything looks the same, so my opponent can never tell what I'm going to do, or gets comfortable thinking that this motion means I'm going to dink, but then I go over their head or I speed up at their shoulder or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, it's being able to hit multiple spots with the same setup, obviously, like you said, but it's being able to hold your shot and then be able to change at the last second, or just being deceptive with it. So the way your shoulders are turned, the way your wrist opens in certain shots, like your body can do one thing, but all that really matters is what? The way the paddle's hitting the ball.
Yeah.
So you can set up and do something with your body, but then at the last thing, your hand might do something funky and the ball might go a completely different direction.
Right.
But it's just being able to, and on top of that too, is how is your opponent set up? So there'll be shots where I might show a line, and then as soon as I'm about to hit the ball, they might slide over to cover line with a backhand, and then as I'm hitting the ball, I might just turn last second and pull it back middle, and now all of a sudden they're switching to a forehand. And then the jam, they might pop it up, and then I had to put away. So it's being able to hold your shot and recognize, one, what are your options here? But two, what are your opponents expecting? And then going with something that's less expected. And then if you're able to do that consistently, mixing up with every shot, you're just always keeping your opponents off guard. And then after a while, they stop preparing too soon for your shots. And then you can just go with plan A, and it's going to start working every time because they don't overextend the cover because they keep getting burned. So I love just mixing up on people and letting them think they know what I'm about to do, and then doing the opposite and catching them off guard.
Which you make sound so easy, but I secretly know it's like there's so many more things involved with that. You're like, oh yeah, I just try to look the same. It's like, bro, did I see the way that you move your feet? Dude, you move your feet, and like you guys are always in such a like perfect position where you're keeping the ball in like an optimal location where your peripheral is like at max capacity, right? Like I'm able to see things without seeing things. And then you guys' eye line, you always stay so like neutral where you're never like up and down. You're just like, boom. And I feel like there's so many variables that you guys eliminate because you're so well at the prep and like the balance that all the things you talk about are like, yeah. And then I just decide it's like, yeah, because you work so hard to get in this like perfect pose and position where you're just the freaking magician, It's so cool to watch.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's funny to watch the different players and their different playing styles. They all do it differently.
Yeah.
Like two that come to mind. So the first one is the way Colin Johns will do this big, slow wind up. And something's going to happen. You just don't know what it is until it happens. And he tends to get a lot of people on that. And then the other one that comes to mind is Rob Nunnery. The way he kind of like dips his paddle down and holds, and then he's about to like speed it up or make some sort of, but it's just a matter of how does he angle his paddle when the ball actually makes contact with it, because that's what dictates where it's going to go, and you don't know that until it happens, right? So even if you do know, okay, Rob's about to speed it up, it's like it might hit here, it might hit over on this shoulder, So even then, if you do anticipate, it's still a challenge, and that's what you guys do so well. You make yourselves so difficult to play against and so difficult to anticipate.
Yeah, it's one of those things, something's coming, but you don't know exactly what. There's several different options. But the best ones are where you throw something at them and then they didn't even think you were even attacking. So, you could show them this big windup and then dink it, and you kind of catch people, a little bit off guard. But it's the ones where they think you're going to dink it and then you attack. Those are the tricky ones.
Yeah, and the hardest ones to execute.
When you go, I have a question, Kyle. When you go, like, let's say you're just going to practice, do you have like a specific intention in mind when you go? Like, hey, I'm just going to work on whether or not we win this practice or we're doing specific things. I'm really focused on this one aspect of the game, and that's kind of like my meter of success on the day. Like for me, it's like I'll go and be like, dude, I'm speeding up, but cross court. I'm never going to speed up the guy in front of me. And that'll be like my goal the whole day for the 3 hours I play. And everyone will start to know, and I don't care because now I got to figure out a way to be even better at it. Do you go with like those specific intentions at all when you go? Because I mean, the way that you have to have done that kind of thing. I'm just curious, like when you train, is that like a specific thing that you do?
Sometimes, yeah. Normally, so if I'm going to go practice, I normally don't even play like rec games.
Yeah.
But I'll go just drill a ton in practice and then play a lot of skinny singles.
I do the opposite.
You like to just play rec games. But when I do play rec games, like let's say I was working on a certain shot. So let's say just working on a certain shot, then in that game I will try to look for that as much as possible and kind of work it in as much as I can. But yeah, no, if I'm gonna go, I usually have a generic practice, but if there's something in particular that I want to work on, yeah, I'll just spend more time on it or try to incorporate it more in the game when it's there.
That's the same. Do you guys ever do, like, when you're doing your specific, like, it's like a high level practice with another pro team? Our coach sometimes would be like, all right, you're never allowed to speed up for the first 3 points. And then the second 3 points, you have to speed up every ball. And then from then on, it's wide open. And it was weird because it would, like, put us in prison a little. I'd be like, I'm so frustrated. But it, like, really helped you grow with being patient or really looking for those opportunities. It was like, dude, I feel like in pickleball, if I had a good training squad, that's what I'd be doing.
Sure. No, and you could do that a lot of different ways. So, one game you might say, hey, we're just going to drive every third and see what happens. And then another game, just say, hey, let's drop every third and see what happens. And at the end of the two games, kind of figure out which one you felt like was more effective. But, it's like I said, but I'll drill mostly. I don't play a ton of rep games.
Right. It's too many variances in level. It's just like, it's not worth it sometimes unless it's super fun squad.
Yeah, I just get more out of drill session.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any shots or plays that certain pros, when you kind of look around the landscape, are making that maybe you don't have in your arsenal and you're looking at and you're like, I need to add that. Like I'm working on that right now. If I can add this to my game, it's going to be lethal. Anything like that comes to mind?
A few different things. One, people are getting so much better at earning. And I know I'm able to earn, but I don't look for it enough. And I actually feel like there's a lot of opportunities where I could earn more and I don't. So I'm starting to try to look for it more. So this last tournament, I tried to go for more than normal and I felt pretty good with it. But I just think there's a lot of missed opportunities when I don't go for it as much as I could. And every point is so important now. So the more chances I have to hit that kind of shot, the better. So that's one. Another thing, trying to get my serve better. I usually just get my serve in. I don't do anything fancy with it. But I actually do feel like I have a pretty good serve when I actually go for it. I just usually choose not to. I get a tournament, I get tired, I get nervous. I don't know. But I end up not going for it. Then when I do throw it in, it's usually pretty effective. So definitely trying to just add a little bit more to that. And then just getting a little bit better, more aggressive with my third shot rolls. So some people are starting to really dip their third shots.
Yeah.
Like lower of a 3/4 pace ground stroke. And my drops, I feel like I can get a nice gentle roll on it, but I do feel like I can put a little more. So I'm trying to add that too. So I see other people starting to do that, and I think that'd be useful to have.
Yeah, because then on the bounce, it stays low, right? It's not popping up and then becomes an immediately attackable ball, essentially, right?
Yeah, it just gets their foot quicker. It just gets their foot quicker, and then they're more likely to pop it up. That extra top spin. My drops are usually nice, gentle rolls. They get down, they get me up to the line, no problem. But people usually can handle them okay. But if you can cause a little bit of disturbance with that next shot, and they're likely to pop it up a little bit, we might be able to attack the next ball and get some free points.
I
like
this is good.
Points.
This is good.
Yeah,
I like this talk. I think I'm kind of learning a lot, and I need to go play. So I late register for the Austin Open and see if I can get that duper rating up. Which, by the way,
no, you
only goes down.
I have to get mine up.
Yeah, dude. The problem is though, every time I go play, I guess it's not a problem. This is a good thing for the sport, but the talent is it's just like everybody is getting better, and it's like I went and played a game with they said there were 4 5s, and I got there and I was like, man, last year this was definitely 5-0 or better play. I mean, what is going on here? And I just seem to encounter that more frequently. It's just like everybody's getting better, not just the pros.
Yeah, to get more athletes, more popular, more people, more kids, right? Like it's just because of the growth and the ability to see it. There's more people and types of people playing, which is like it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more options. There's more options to play. It's more accessible. There's more courts. There's more better players. So back when I was playing, there was only so many places to play, so many decent players, and so you had to travel to go play with better players. Nowadays, there's good players all over the place. So you're able to practice you're able to get a higher quality practice more often these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I played in Palm Springs, we played 4-5, and I just remember one match being like, you guys are not like, you guys are legit. And I just remember being like, all right, like
They're flirting 4-5s.
This game is changing. And I was like, geez, like I am not going to be a 5-0 for much longer.
Old school 5-0.
Yeah, that's why I don't log my dupers anymore, because I just want to keep my rating where it is. I don't want
I always just ask, what do you guys rated? Yeah, I'm gonna put that in duper. Is that okay? Okay, perfect.
Make sure check. No, that's something you can do. I think that's why it's cool to have like a tool like that where you can see everybody's rating, because it's like, even if you go to play rec, you can like scout the player. You can even like forecast the win based on your like historical performance, which is like a pretty interesting thing. So you can get a read helps you like set up games better too, honestly. If you are just kind of looking at the way everything's developing, Kyle, and you're seeing these young guns come in, I mean, in my mind right now, it's like J-Dub and Dylan Frazier are like really impressing me. Maybe it's them. Are there any other kind of new people in the sport you're looking at and you're like, damn, they're a killer? Like, they came out of nowhere and people should be watching this person. They're gonna make waves.
I'd like to see Gabriel Tardio playing more. I don't know if you guys don't know who that is.
Yeah, I know that is.
He's a young kid here from Florida. I played against him a couple times now, and he's deceiving. He actually got a bronze medal in the pro singles a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
down here,
yeah.
But I mean, the kid's legit. J Dub's something special, but Gabe still got some growing to do, and he's got some fast hands, ridiculous ground strokes. He's lanky, smart. So there's so many good juniors. It's hard to really pick them out, but just someone I just played against a couple of times that just comes to mind is Gabe. He's gonna be tough to beat, man. I've had some battles with him already, and it's just crazy. These kids can be so good so fast.
Yeah.
No warm up. Don't even drink water, and you're like, "What's happening?" He's so good.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like, when did I get old, man?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this should be happening, but yeah. So that's the first name that comes to my mind. Just played against him a couple times last couple weeks.
Yeah,
he's gonna be tough. But
yeah,
J Dub and Dylan, man. Actually, quick funny story. And Dylan can attest to this. My uncle was friends with his parents, and I remember calling him. I called his mom about 5 or 6 years ago. He might have been like 13 or 14. He had just started playing pickleball, and apparently he was a fan of mine. And
really?
and so his uncle was like, yeah, give his mom a call, just say hi. And so I called him and just said, hey, Dylan, I heard you like pickleball. Nice to meet you, whatever. Hope to play with you someday. If you have any pickleball questions or anything, you need some tips, reach out anytime. I'd be happy to help. And he asked me a couple of questions, like some, what drills would you, focus on? And so I was like, this kid, and he was so nice. He was so appreciative. And so it's so cool to see him, winning gold medals on the pro tour now.
Right.
It's just wild. It's so cool to see that happen, because, you can't help but feel like I somewhat inspired that.
Yeah.
But just to see these kids having the success now too, it's really cool to see. I just hope it keeps growing.
Yeah. It's cool too, because like, you can tell his family's super supportive. I met his parents at Major League Pickleball.
Great family.
And
Awesome
they go everywhere with him. They're his biggest fans. And the other thing is, I know they're running his social media. So I know I've never like interacted with Dylan. Actually, I'm always like chatting with his mom or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, that family, the Frazier family, and then the Johnson family with J-Dub and Georgia and Julie.
Well, that helps.
Such nice people.
Yeah. It helps when everybody in the family is a pro player, referring to the Johnsons. That helps.
Yeah, like, look, this is what we'll do for you. Yeah, we got it dialed. The whole schedule's ready.
There'd be something in that blood, man. There's something. All right. So what's next for you? I think you mentioned next weekend you're going to be at Legacy. What's after that?
I was talking to Casey about this before the podcast.
Yeah.
So I got the tournament in Arizona, and then I actually go to Costa Rica for a couple weeks, little teaching vacation. and little surfing, little pickleball for a couple
Nice,
weeks, and then
nice.
jumping right into the U.S. Open after that.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's gonna be a fun April. So
Well,
that'll be my
listen-
birthday. My birthday week.
Yeah. If
Oh,
you're
that's gonna be so rad.
if you're taking a nice vacation right before you go to the U.S. Open, people better be worried. That's your secret sauce.
That's my secret. I figured it out.
Yeah.
I'll be ready to go.
Goes off to his oasis, comes back just super tan, shredded, just firing, hitting. He's gonna be hitting so many Ernies.
So many Ernies.
Last thing, Kyle, when you are in Costa Rica and you are on the road and you're playing all these tournaments, I want to make sure that you stay hydrated. So you should invest in some Relight. All right.
Yeah.
It's salty, sweet. It's got potassium, magnesium, sodium, everything you need. Keeps you hydrated. What do you think about that?
Was it called Relight?
Relight.
Oh, where can I find that?
It's fire. Don't ask me questions I don't know the answer to. Maybe
Listen, he'll just
relight.com.
send you a
God, I
package
should
to
know.
the hotel. Yeah, we need to send him a birthday welcoming, like a welcome package to Costa Rica. We'll just send
Yeah,
one
we
to
can do
Kyle.
that.
There
We can
you
do
go.
that. I'll talk to my people.
Excellent.
All right. That's it. I think this was a great episode. Thanks for coming on, Kyle.
Oh, it was great seeing you guys.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
So stoked for Costa Rica. It's gonna be rad.
I'm so excited. Really was
Subscribe on YouTube, or I'll be really frustrated with you. Next episode, we actually have a little surprise. So yeah, make sure you're listening. It'll be Casey and I and one other, maybe two others.
Yeah.
But that's it. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Kyle.
Right. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you guys.
See ya.